Amazing Days is on now at your local Metro. For just one more week, save big on amazing items like selected varieties of VH sauce for only $2.44 each. Only till June 10th. Shop in-store or online at metro.ca.
This is London Live. My name is Mike Stubbs. We are lucky enough to be able to speak with the leader of the Ontario NDP. Joining us right now is Marit Stiles. Ms. Stiles, thanks so much for being here.
Hi, it's great to be here, Mike.
This has been quite a week. I mean, there's an awful lot to talk about that kind of ends with recesses of the legislature that are 21 weeks long. Are you ready for a 21-week time away from the legislature? I don't want to say break because it's not a complete break, but time away?
You know what? Honestly, I have to say, and I really mean this, it really wasn't long enough of a session. You know, we get a lot of work done that we could only do in the legislature when the House is sitting. And so it's frustrating. It's really frustrating that the government decided to get out early and that they're not coming back now until Thanksgiving. And that means that a lot of laws that need to be debated and discussed and proposals that would make life easier and more affordable for people are going to be on the back burner. But I'm certainly going to take advantage of the opportunity to get out there and have as many conversations with Ontarians as I can.
And in doing so, what is it that you're hoping to hear? Because I keep thinking there's been a lot of time for conversation with constituents, with Ontarians, because there was 14 weeks and now there have been roughly 30 days and now there'll be 21 weeks. Is there more that you need to learn and other MPPs might need to learn from any party?
You know, I will say this. It's pretty clear what it is that is on people's minds and what their priority is. It's affordability. It's the cost of things. Every person I speak to, it's their number one issue. I mean, that's what regular people are dealing with. And I think it's really frustrating that when you only sit for 30 days, 29 days, that the government did absolutely nothing to bring forward any measures that would address that issue. And so it just showed me how out of touch the government is right now. And certainly Doug Ford, again today, talking about how he wishes he had a private jet when most people are just trying to figure out how to pay their rent or how they're going to pay for groceries.
We had some Global News reporting from Colin DeMello and Isaac Callan that said that the Premier charged more than $140,000 in private plane charters last year. And I guess if we do the math up against owning a jet, there's some savings to be had there. But Ms. Stiles, your thoughts on that much flying on a private jet? Is that necessary?
I mean, look, He took so many flights to Ottawa, but cost everybody so much more money than he could have taking the train, driving 4.5 hours from Toronto, or flying. You know, there's no excuse, I think. There are places in this province where you have to get a small plane to fly into fly-in only communities, certainly. But chartering flights to places like Ottawa or Calgary, I don't get it. And in the end, it costs the taxpayer so much more money. You're right. Colin DeMello did the math and it makes no sense. And even then, it might be a little cheaper than getting a private luxury jet. But again, it just shows me that this premier has lost complete touch with what reality is for the people of Ontario. People are struggling with regular things. And we have brought forward measures like that proposal to cut the tax on all groceries. The government voted against that. So if it wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't so clear that they weren't doing anything to actually save people money.
We're talking with Ontario NDP leader Marit Stiles. Ms. Stiles, you travel as well, and when you are the leader of a political party, as you are, you don't go all by yourself to things, and there's the argument that, hey, it's a little difficult going commercial. When you travel, do you travel commercial?
Absolutely. All the time. The only time I ever have to fly and have ever flown into a community was like we would charter Bearskin Airlines in the north to fly into a community where you could only fly in and you have no choice but to charter. But that's absolutely those are little propeller planes. It's completely different. And I would expect the premier to do that too if he ever bothered to visit those communities. But I absolutely fly commercial and I drive a lot of places too, which also, by the way, helps to understand the state of our roads. I drive up in Northern Ontario a lot, and Northern Ontario highways are very dangerous. They are closed a lot of the time. And I don't think you can any politician can say, I'm just going to fly all the time and just go right over that and then refuse to actually address the safety issues. You got to see that and experience it for yourself.
What are we left to do here if there isn't going to be a sitting of the House for a long period of time? Ontarians are hoping that affordability changes, but we're not seeing the road to that in any way. So are we just kind of stuck on pause until October 27th?
Well, there's certainly a lot of things that won't get moved forward or debated or passed. So there's a lot of laws right now that are being tabled, but again, nothing will happen with them until after Thanksgiving. So laws, for example, that we've proposed that would keep our classrooms cooler for kids in the fall and in the spring when we know that our classrooms are often sweltering and kids are getting sick. There are changes on there that we've proposed to fix the healthcare system. A really good example is bringing in a standard ratio of nurses to patients, which is something they've done in other provinces, which has really improved the quality of healthcare. In places like BC, in Manitoba, they're doing it. We want to get that done here. These are things that will not get changed. And so the government is and also the government is not going to be asked those really important questions that people need answers to. Like, why are they making certain decisions? OSAP cuts, the government went ahead and made these big cuts to OSAP. There's a lot of students out there right now who are making choices not to continue their studies because they can't afford to anymore. We were up in the legislature almost every day demanding the government reverse course. We were bringing the stories of those students, their voices into the legislature. That will not happen now. So, we're going to keep organizing. We're going to keep pushing. And I encourage everybody to contact their Conservative MPPs. You're so lucky in the London area to have Terence Kernaghan and Teresa Armstrong and Peggy Sattler fighting every day for you. But get on the phone as well with those Conservative MPPs and tell them what you think. Because we need to get them to turn some of this around.
Ontario NDP leader Marit Stiles joining us. Ms. Stiles, one last thing, and
Sure.
This seems to present an opportunity where you've got somebody saying, okay, well, if that's what we've got right now, who else can I look to? How do you position yourself or maybe change strategy if you want to say, okay, if the election campaign is starting a few years early, this is what we're going to do?
For me, it really is. And the last year or so, I have really shifted the tactics that we're using. We're doing a lot more video. We're reaching a lot more people through social media because it's hard to reach people otherwise. We're listening a lot to where people are at. We're trying to come up with measures that address where folks are, what people are dealing with right now. And that's why we're talking a lot about bringing the cost of things down. And, there's a lot of people out there who think that government can't do anything about those things, but they can. In fact, government's job is to make your life less expensive and better. And so we can do that together. And we're going to just keep focusing on solutions. So not just holding the government to task and making them change things, but actually putting forward solid solutions, things that the government could be doing right now if we work together that would bring down the cost of things and stop especially the rising cost of things like rent and groceries.
We will see what happens. We've had suggestion that maybe we need more of an alignment between, say, the NDP and the Liberals. Is there any conversation going on from that vein? Well,
we work together a lot on issues here, and sometimes they support the bills that we put forward, and sometimes we support their bills. So I think we are aligned on a number of issues. But I'll tell you this. And I work, of course, with Mike Schreiner from the Greens a lot, too. But I will tell you this. I think that what's happened, we're seeing like this status quo approach to things that we had under the Ontario Liberals and then the Conservatives for so many years, and it is leaving regular people behind every time. And I think people are tired of the kind of pay-to-play politics that they've seen under both of those sets of governments, and they're tired of the status quo. So my job now is to put forward a bold enough solution to really change things up, and for the first time in a long time, have a government that's really there for real people, regular, everyday people.
Really appreciate your time today, Ms. Stiles. Have a good rest of the day.
Thank you.
That is Ontario NDP leader Marit Stiles. And some thoughts on 21 weeks without sitting And I still don't get why it couldn't be, well, we'll come back for 5 days in August. We'll do 5 days in September. That is a possibility. That's the unfortunate thing in all of this, that you could do little bits. You could, but that's not the decision. And because of that, we're stuck on pause, and we just are. This is London Live on 980 CFPL.